Hey, good evening. So, we've been talking about the Spanish Inquisition, so this is part 4, and we're going to stay right on there. In the last episode, we talked about the 1200s or the Medieval Inquisition. The church created a system to investigate heresy. Dominican inquisitors traveled from town to town, confessions were recorded, interrogations were structured, even torture was legalized under limits. The revolutionary idea wasn't punishment, but that your belief could be investigated. That system belonged to the church. Now, fast forward 2 centuries, and Spain sees that model and decides to take control of it. By the late 1400s, Spain was consolidating power, the Reconquista was nearing completion, Christian monarchs were unifying territory, thousands of Jewish and Muslim people had converted over the previous century, and suspicions surrounded many of those converts. So in 1478, Ferdinand II of Aragon and Isabella I of Castile asked Pope Sixtus IV for permission to establish their own inquisition, and he approved. But here is the turning point. This tribunal answered largely to the Spanish crown and not Rome. The medieval church model had now become a state-controlled machine, religion and monarchy fused into one enforcement system. The crown said it was necessary for 3 reasons: to unify Spain religiously, to prevent internal rebellion, and to investigate suspected false converts. From their perspective, hidden religion meant hidden loyalty. After centuries of war, they believed unity required certainty, and the Inquisition provided the mechanism to test that certainty. In 1483, they appointed the first Grand Inquisitor, Tomás de Torquemada. Torquemada did not invent suspicion, he organized it. He expanded tribunes across Castile and Aragon. He centralized authority through the Suprema, or the Supreme Council of the Inquisition. He standardized procedures and kept records. Now Spain had permanent courts, uniform investigation methods, national oversight, and royal backing. This was not chaos, it was administrative. And then in the early focus fell heavily on conversos, Jewish converts suspected of secretly practicing Judaism. Investigators looked for signs inside the home, such as Sabbath observance or avoidance of pork, ritual washing, Hebrew prayer fragments, burial customs. Even family traditions passed quietly down through generations were subject to investigation. Now, some accusations were grounded in reality, while others were exaggerated, and still some were fueled by rivalry, resentment, or opportunity. But the effect was the same, and accusations could be anonymous, so the accused never knew who had testified against them. And worse yet, property could be seized during these proceedings, so fear began to spread very quickly, because belief was no longer private, but inspectable. And then came 1492. The machine was already running, and in 1492, that hardened everything because 3 major events happened in the same year. First was the fall of Granada. After nearly 700 years of Muslim political presence in Iberia, the last Muslim kingdom was defeated. Initially, the Treaty of Granada promised Muslims protection of religion, property, and custom, but those protections eroded very quickly. Within years, Arabic language was restricted, Islamic dress and customs were banned, and pressure to convert intensified. By the early 1500s, widespread forced conversions created the Moriscos, Muslim converts to Christianity. And like the Conversos before them, Moriscos were scrutinized. They looked at their bathing customs, their language, their marriage patterns, their food preparation. Culture became evidence. Second was the Alhambra Decree. In March of 1492, Ferdinand and Isabella issued what became known as the Alhambra Decree, also called the Edict of Expulsion. This royal order declared that all practicing Jews in Spain had to either convert to Christianity, leave the kingdom within a few months, or face severe penalties. The crown argued that Jewish communities were influencing conversos, encouraging them to secretly return to Jewish practices. From their perspective, removing practicing Jews would eliminate that influence. In practical terms, families had to sell property quickly, often at a major financial loss. They were not allowed to take gold, silver, or weapons out of Spain, and many left with whatever they could just carry. Estimates vary, but tens of thousands, possibly over 100,000, left Spain. They fled to North Africa, the Ottoman Empire, Portugal, and parts of Italy. Those who chose conversion remained, but conversion did not bring safety. It now made you even more, made them even more suspicious of you because no one was openly Jewish anymore. It meant that anyone could be secretly Jew, but the Inquisition expanded investigations. And the last on that same year was Columbus sailing west. In the same year Spain expelled Jews and completed the Reconquista, it launched overseas expansion. Spain was no longer just unifying, it was becoming an empire. Religious uniformity became part of national identity. Spain would now present itself as the defender of Catholic Christianity, not just in Iberia, but globally. Before 1492, Spain was tense but plural. After 1492, Spain moved toward enforced religious conformity. The Inquisition did not create that shift alone, but it enforced it. And something profound happened also. Faith stopped being public affiliation. It became private examination. Private became inspectable, and inspectable became punishable. And once a state claims authority over inner belief, it changes a nation permanently. Next episode, we move to the Limpieza de Sangre. I think I said that right. Because after 1492, suspicion stopped being only about practice and it started being about ancestry, about blood. And that shift would reshape Spain and eventually influence colonial identity systems for centuries to come. You guys have a great night.